stereotyped cast, bad acting, annoying kid, and awful screaming female lead.
How dare they say about Kehu Kwan?
No kidding.
Bad special effects, dumb one-liners. This film really shows the director and producer's shortcomings.
Oh, no, that's wrong.
This could be about any movie.
This movie should be excluded from the Indiana Jones series.
Oh, no, there are so many worse things.
Absolutely not.
Well, just one, but
I mean, that Crystal Skull's in that,
Yeah.
That is a 1-star review from IMDb. Hello and welcome to Spoilers Intended, a podcast about series and films. I'm Steven, joined as always by Andrew.
Hello.
And Ryan.
Hello.
And in case you didn't figure it out, we are doing Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, second in the Indiana Jones franchise.
Yep.
It sure is.
It's not a sequel, it's a prequel.
Is it?
It is a prequel.
Oh, it is.
It takes place before
Raiders.
Oh, I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I first found that out, I was like, are y'all sure?
Yeah, are you positive?
Are you positive about this?
Well, because this takes place in 1935.
Yes.
And 1936 was Raiders.
They wanted to get away from Nazis as the villain.
And turns out that was probably not the best idea.
Kind of a mistake. Everybody likes stereotyping Nazis.
Yeah.
People don't like stereotyping Indians and other groups.
That decision did not age well, but I get where they were coming from with, like, we need to do something different. We don't want to repeat the same thing. But
yeah, there's definitely some poor aging in this film.
There are some choices.
There's some culture insensitivity here and there.
So speaking of cultural insensitivity,
here we go.
We have a whole scene that is just basically cultural insensitivity in a nutshell, where they have a banquet eating really weird foods that I'm not convinced people over there would eat either.
Yeah.
So we figured we might talk about some weird stuff we've eaten in our past.
Yeah.
So Andrew's the wild card. Andrew's been to Japan.
I've been to Japan. I've been to Poland, Canada.
The weirdest place on doggone ketchup potato chips.
I mean, ketchup potato chips are actually quite good. Not gonna lie,
but they're real sweet.
Yeah, I mean, well, not as sweet as you think because it's Canada, so they don't put sugars in everything.
Yeah. But you know what? I want to hear from Ryan first.
We're leading with me?
Let's kick it off. I want to hear something weird. Come on.
On the topic of Temple of Doom, I have eaten brains.
Have you?
I have eaten squirrel brains.
Squirrel brains?
Yes.
Squirrel brains. What? Interesting. This is very Tennessee.
I was going to say, this is very Tennessee.
There was an era of my life where I
only ate squirrel
lived
brains?
in the woods. No, I lived with a redneck portion of my family is the kind way I will describe it. And they ate a lot of wild stuff of
backwoods Tennessee.
Well, not really backwoods, just they themselves ate backwoods stuff. My uncle made me scrambled eggs one morning.
Oh.
And he put squirrel brains in the scrambled eggs. He said, I made them real good. And I said, oh, cool. And ate about half the plate. And it was kind of like, there's something gamey in here.
Off about this.
There's something not quite right. Because it blends into the scrambled egg quite a bit. And I was very unsettled when he explained to me that he'd put squirrel brains in there.
Oh, man. That makes me I don't feel so good now.
Yeah.
Honestly,
did you get a parasite?
Honestly, though, it wasn't that bad. That was the worst part. Is I was actually enjoying the scrambled eggs. They were actually pretty good. And I was like, what's in here? There's something, and I'm like, I don't know, 11 years old at this point. So I was like, some kind of seasoning or something.
Did you put Old Bay in here?
Yeah, that's nice kind of. Because I mean, not to be too gross, but brains have the consistency of scrambled eggs, so it just mixes
right in.
Right in, yeah. But yeah, I witnessed over at that family. My grandfather got me to eat chitlins one time, not knowing what I was eating.
It's called chitlins, yeah.
It's pig intestines or whatever. Not that gross, but it's like at the time as a kid, I was a very picky eater.
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and put this out there.
Yeah.
If you ever have sausage, you're having some kind of intestine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
there's no
really, chitlins by themselves are like a weird, like people look at it weird, but at the same time, it's not too far off from sausage.
If you just have sausage, that's what it is.
But it was like, so I was a very picky eater. I was like, I'll eat fast food, and I had like a few like peanut butter and jelly, you know, like very, very select. I was a really spoiled kid, like pizza, chicken strips all day, but like anything outside of that was like very narrow. And my grandmother on that side of the family was poor. They would make like this thing called slumgullion that was like just everything in a bowl. It was like some noodles, whatever meat was on hand, and sauce.
Yeah.
It was like some onions.
Sauce.
And I hated it. I hated it to the core of my being. And I didn't understand, you know, perspective at the time that we're broke and this is her like literally making a meal that can feed an entire family out of like what we have. But because of that, they would make all sorts of like venison, you know, things. But like, my granddad made chitlins one time, and he was like, "Do you trust me? Try this." And I was like, "Sure." And I tried it, and I was like, "It's not bad." And he's like, "It's chitlins." And he starts explaining how he makes them, and I'm like, "Oh." And it's like, that's why I stayed a picky eater, is because you guys ruined the trust.
Yeah.
And we had.
Do you trust me?
Do you trust me? This is me just going off about one side of my family. Every Thanksgiving.
So glad we started with Ryan.
The same uncle that made me eat the squirrel brains, we did a contest, and it was called Kiss the Neck Bone Contest, okay? And now in this, they would cook the turkey, and thered be this weird giblet-looking neck bone left over, right?
Man.
This giblet-looking neck bone. And what he would do is he would take all the grandkids and stuff, which he was our uncle, but his nephew's names, and put them in a hat. And he would be like, "All right, it's time to play Kiss the Neck Bone. Whoever wins has to kiss the neck bone." And he would always win.
Do you want to win?
No, you don't. So all the children would just scatter and scream. He was a really fun dude. He was like a lot of like, that was his jokes, right?
Yeah.
He never made him actually kiss the neck
Yeah,
bone.
yeah, of course.
But he would always pick the youngest kid there.
And just pick on him.
No matter what. And we'd be like, "All right, well, we'll draw again." See, he doesn't seem to be wanting to do it. And it's, you know, so-and-so again. The kid would just start crying. The rest of us are just laughing. And he would chase him around the room with this weird neck bone. So, yeah, I ate squirrel brains one time. That's the weirdest thing I've eaten.
Okay.
On to someone else.
Mine's not going to be nearly as fun as that.
No, mine's not going to be nearly as interesting.
So the first time we were in Japan, we were at an izakaya, which is basically just a Japanese-style pub. So just, you know, finger food, that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And we were there with my good friend Jonathan, and he can translate for us. He lived over there, and he was just kind of showing us, you know, just around the city and stuff. Yeah. And he was talking with our waitress. And, you know, he, you know, kind of like going back and forth with her for a second. And then he, you know, got a good laugh out of it. And we were like, what? And he's like, oh, just wait. You know, so, you know, like a couple minutes later, she comes out with 3 jumbo shrimp that are live.
Okay.
Oh, no.
So basically what they do is they flash fry them to basically make them safe to eat, but it's not long enough to kill the shrimp.
Oh, my God.
Oh, that sounds horrifying.
They're like screeching at you.
Yeah.
Like their little mandibles and stuff are moving around.
Oh,
and,
no.
And then you basically just eat the tail with this live shrimp. And you can also eat the head. I did not do that. But my friend
Which
Jonathan
is worse,
did.
I wonder. Going into a wood chipper, legs first or face first? You know? Legs first, you feel it all the way down. Head first, it's over quick. So I don't know, Andrew. Maybe you're a monster.
Yeah, maybe you're the monster here.
But yeah,
look your prey in the eye before you. So what did it taste like?
It just tastes like shrimp.
So it's cooked enough to still taste like shrimp, I guess.
Yeah. But it's really more the experience of eating it when it's live.
It's blowing my mind that you can cook something to the level of being food safe, but not dead.
It's seafood. I don't know.
What's the appeal of that? I wonder. Like, does it taste better because it's alive and fighting in your mouth?
No. So I'm pretty sure the only reason why, like, it's more of like a gimmick.
Why did I choose
to scare tourists?
Why did I choose this segment?
Yeah, it's just a gimmick. Really,
you did this.
Yeah,
this is the worst.
It's your fault, Steven.
Steven's gonna be like, I had an old piece of cheese once. I don't know.
I had mold.
But to add on to that, same place that we were eating at, we got some basically some octopus tentacles and that kind of stuff, which taco's very, very good.
Yeah. But it was still
however,
like wiggling around and
yeah,
stuff.
well, yes. Well, so what you do is you can pour soy sauce on it, and the salt content or the sodium in the soy sauce will basically make the tentacles move around and stuff because it's still like it can still react to it.
Yeah, it's not alive, but you're causing reactions in the muscles.
So that was fun. But yeah, I mean, the live shrimp thing is probably about the furthest I've gone into like weird food.
Yeah.
I know there are a couple places in Japan you can technically eat horse. There's also places in Japan you can eat bear.
That's more acceptable.
Yeah, there's also places you can eat whale, and that's getting a little bit too
Let's dial it
too
back
weird.
on that,
But
guys. Come on, Japan.
but yeah. So I'll digress.
Okay, well, for my weird thing I've eaten, I'm also going to go to Asia. So back when we went to Beijing a long, long time ago, or well, to China really, but this has specifically happened in Beijing.
Yeah.
So throughout the trip, we were on like a tour for like a couple weeks, and then we were in Beijing for the wedding that was the reason we were there for like a week, kind of on our own ish. And none of us really spoke Mandarin.
Yeah.
I had a few words where I was like, I could probably get myself to a place where I could find someone who could speak English or whatever kind of thing. But we had friends who were there who spoke Chinese, Mandarin. And so throughout this trip, my mom was very paranoid about the idea that, one of us gets sick and then we're, sick in China. It's like 2005.
Not a fun time.
Not a great time.
Right, yeah.
So she like watched us like a hawk about what we ate, right? And it's like the whole time my dad and I were like, man, we just got to find something weird, right? We need to find something weird.
that is like famous last words.
That's very
This is just a mistake. So as it happened this night in Beijing, my mom and sister were at some function for the like ancillary to the wedding, right? Like, in the run up to it. And so my dad and I were out to dinner with some of our other friends who spoke the language. And we were at some restaurant, I don't even know, but they, Cantonese food. Cantonese love all kinds of the joke that one of our tour guides told us was, the Cantonese eat anything that has four legs as long as it's not the table.
Yeah.
Right? It was the joke. So we wanted to try something weird. So we got fried jellyfish.
Oh, okay.
Stingers and all.
It's probably very chewy.
I would like to say I cannot recommend this in any form or fashion.
Did it sting you on the way down?
No. So like,
What was it battered in? Like tempura?
I couldn't tell you. Okay. So eating this, it was simultaneously oily, rubbery, and crunchy.
So it's like that's like cartilage to me.
Well, but it was the batter. It was like the fried bits, and then also like if you ever had like escargot, like snails,
Yeah.
right? It's that kind of like if you don't actually if you try to chew a little, you're like, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
It's that feeling, but it was like I need to
Just
chew
let it
this.
slide down the gullet.
Yeah. So like again, my mom, the whole trip, she's watching us like a hawk. She's not gonna let us have anything weird. We're not gonna do anything. And my dad, the first night we're on our own, we're just like, let's do something stupid.
Cut to you guys throwing up in the hotel room. She's just shaking her head. Like,
No, I mean it didn't
told
make us
you.
sick or anything, but we both definitely were like, okay, that's enough. We were adventurous.
One piece
cool.
was fine for me.
Let's get something a little more familiar.
Where's the McDonald's?
No, it wasn't that bad. Although
No,
I will say, a chief complaint we had was because I was in college and my dad's my dad. Was like we were never served enough food. We were always hungry.
I'm American.
I was just permanently hungry in China, and so like the last day of the tour when we were in Beijing, one of the guys, old dude, he like went to this place called the Western Sizzler.
Yeah.
which apparently is a chain. I've never heard of this
You
place.
didn't go. I went to the Sizzler all the time as a kid.
Like,
Got a part-time job at the Sizzler.
He's
My
like,
cousin did, and two of my friends did.
he was like, yeah, I'm in the South. I went to the Sizzler, and I'm like, the only time I've ever heard of a Western Sizzler was in Beijing. And he's like, oh, I got a steak, and we were both just like, my dad and I were both just like, we're going there. I don't care.
Dude, the steaks come in one type at Sizzler. Well done.
So this one, I can
Just
assure
like a
you,
brick, just throw it down.
And with Heinz 47 sauce.
Throw it like a frisbee out of the kitchen.
this steak did not come well done.
Oh.
And in fact, because the steak, as my dad and I both observed, both of our steaks were cut where one end was thicker than the other end. So the steak represented a full spectrum from
Rare,
well
medium
done
rare,
to
medium,
rare.
all the way to
Yeah, to just like not like.
Wow.
This end might have been hanging off the grill when they were cooking because it didn't like it just only this got touched, and the other end is just like crunchy burnt bits. We were both very unsatisfied.
Wow.
So I definitely will say, like being in other countries, and I'll say being an American, the serving sizes here are just massive compared to basically anywhere else. And But particularly drink sizes.
Oh, yeah.
are the biggest difference. Is like, so whenever you get like just a water, you get like a little cup. Like something that you get from like the doctor's office to like just
like a little Dixie cup. Of
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I always think of
No ice either.
Parks and Rec where they have the paunch burger and they order a child-sized cola and they put this bucket down. I'm like, what is this? So like, it's the size of a child. It's a child-sized cola.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Well, so on the subject of drinks, like, in China, of course, we weren't supposed to drink the water, right?
Yeah, bottled water.
So it was like you get bottled water, which at the time I like refused to drink bottled water. Like China broke me because I finally had to I have to hydrate myself. But up to that point, I refused to drink bottled water. And
Such a very weird hill to
For
die
like
on.
religious reasons or like what?
I just didn't like the concept because again, here in America, right? It's just it's out of the tap. It just functions. There's water fountains. It just works. I don't like all
this
that.
water's free.
Well, it's just like all
I
the
pay for it.
concept of all this plastic that you chug a water, you just throw it in the trash, right?
It's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So it broke me of that. But the thing was, you just ordered beer at dinner because the beer wasn't very out. It was like 3.5% or something. It wasn't going to get you drunk, and it was a way to get basically water.
I need to drink alcohol to hydrate.
Listen to me, Karen. I'm hydrating. Okay.
All right. So, anyways, after that little interlude into our the wild world of what we've eaten.
I'm eating squirrel brains.
Yeah.
I got. Yeah.
Let's reel it back in. All right, Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom.
I'm going to hit you with a quick little plot summary. In 1935, Indiana Jones is tasked by Indian villagers with reclaiming a rock stolen from them by a secret cult beneath the catacombs of an ancient palace. I love how that whole sentence is really cool, except for a rock.
A rock.
Just a rock.
They could have said a mystical rock or
like
an
sacred
ancient
rock.
artifact.
Yeah, sacred rock would have been better.
Like just anything, just a rock.
Just some dude's rock.
I hit that in the summary. It's like, who saw this movie of what are you doing today? I'm finding a rock. So hit you with some just kind of the basics. Directed by Steven Spielberg. Music by John Williams.
Yep.
We went off on him. We waxed poetic about him in our Raiders episode. Check that one out if you haven't. Budget of $28 million.
That's actually really low.
It is,
especially for how how many
the mine
special effect
scenes.
shots.
They did a lot of set work. Box office was $333 million global.
Wow,
barely made the money back.
I mean, that's a kill. Like you want to talk about ROI, man? That's a killing.
I'd love to adjust that for inflation too to know what that.
I mean, I could look it up, but I'm not going to.
I'm going to go ahead and guess. It's probably like 80 million budget or something like that now.
It's still not that high.
It's still not that high. My point was, it's still not like high enough for what you would think for a blockbuster summer movie.
Yeah.
So guys, I'm going to open it up for y'all. Give me some spoiler-free thoughts. What's your opinions on Temple of Doom?
This movie rules. Everyone hates on this movie, and I fully admit it is not the best Indiana Jones movie. But as a kid, it was my favorite by far because I think what this movie is, to me, is it's like the difference between Alien and Aliens. It's like the first Raiders of the Lost Ark was like, let's make a pulp adventure. And then this one is like, let's make an action movie for kids that is off the rails. And I really enjoy it. There's definitely Willie gets on my nerves for sure. There's definitely some cultural sensitivity that does not age well at all. Insensitivity rather. Yeah, sorry. Insensitivity that it doesn't age well. But overall, I think this movie is still a lot of fun. I can watch this movie anytime. It's definitely, again, not as good as Raiders or Last Crusade in my book, but still a lot of fun. I had no problem rewatching this movie.
Yeah. So for me, this is definitely one of those films where there are some phenomenal scenes that I love to watch. And a lot of the stuff that just doesn't age well, particularly the cultural insensitivity towards Indians, is kind of hard to watch, especially because and there's a lot of just really weird scenes that are kind of kind of peppered into the middle of the film. But everything around, the bookends, the two, the opening action scene, the ending action sequences, for the final, quarter of the film are phenomenal.
Man,
very well
done. The final, third of the film is just go, go, go.
Yeah,
go,
and
go.
it's great. It's absolutely great.
Yeah.
But the stuff kind of in the middle, which is really where a lot of the people, I think, really don't like Willie because she is a very grating character for sure. But I don't think that's necessarily her actress. I think that's just how she was written for the time. in the 80s for a 1935 film.
Well, I was going to say the same thing about. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to hit you with some trivia on that point exactly. So Kate Capshaw, the actress, was very critical of her own character, saying that Willie was not much more than a dumb screaming blonde.
I mean, that's true.
Pretty accurate.
Yeah. I feel like the movie would have been better if it was just him and Short Round.
I think so too.
Honestly,
with no love interest, and because I think
love, put quotations around that.
Right? Yeah, quote unquote. Yeah, because the chemistry he has with her is nowhere near as good as it was in with Marion.
No, not at all.
Not even close.
And so it feels like, and I don't know this, I have no trivia, but like Harrison Ford and maybe Kate Capshaw didn't get along as good or something.
I didn't see anything,
but it just feels like there's no chemistry really there.
Well, but I think that's kind of the whole point.
There is
that they really don't have chemistry.
No,
and like they're all like it's kind of like a really weird like meta thing where like Indiana Jones is like, well, you're the only white girl here,
right? Yeah, like it was. Yeah,
I guess you'll do.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say earlier to jump on the point about the in the 80s trying to reflect the 30s, right? I wonder if some of the cultural insensitivity isn't like, well, back in the 30s, they would have made, a reference like eating monkey brains at a table in India. So let's do it here. They just didn't have that filter that we have now of like, ooh, hold on.
Yeah.
That's not right.
That's not kosher. Yeah.
Well, instead, they just were aping it almost too much.
Yeah, but like we can go to 1985's Clue. They serve monkey brains as the main course, and it's not nearly as much of like a graphic, over the top kind of.
I think that's very Spielberg.
That was the point
at the time.
Yeah, the ending gag of like.
So I've got a piece of trivia about that whole sequence, but we got to save it for. Post spoiler, because it gives stuff away. But yeah, I mean, it was a Spielberg decision. I will tell you that much.
Yeah.
So Stephen, what do you think about this film?
So it's funny because Ryan's over here. He's like, when I was a kid, this movie was awesome.
Yeah.
So and I remember that. I remember some of my friends were all obsessed with this film because of certain sequences, and it was kind of the gross out sequence that kids are all like, ew, oh, it's awesome, ew,
Yeah.
Definitely has a Nickelodeon vibe to it.
Get slimed.
Yeah.
But for me, this is my second least watched Indiana Jones film, and I'm putting that against Crystal Skull, which is a 0 currently.
Yeah.
So
that's going to change. Don't worry.
Currently. So it's, again, I don't like Raiders is double digit watches for me. Last Crusade is like a lot of double digit watches for me. Temple of Doom might be single digits.
It's crazy for me to think about like my timeline with it because as I was younger, I watched Last Crusade the least because I thought it was boring as all get out when it came out. When it came out in '89, right? Because I was 6.5, 7 when it came out, and like coming from Temple of Doom, which
is just action.
Yeah, like as a kid, going to Last Crusade, I was like, "What are we doing? Like this is boring." He's talking to his dad a lot. Okay. There's no mine carts. Where's the monkey braids? Where's the bridge?
Yeah, I mean, as like a preteen, like
a 6-year-old,
Temple of Doom definitely hits. Assuming it doesn't just like terrify you.
No, I'd seen Neverending Story by then, so I was like, I was so like past that. I was like a kid smoking a cigarette. You haven't seen nothing, buddy, till you see Labyrinth.
You'll really grow up once you get out of the mines.
Yeah, but like so, as I was a kid. Temple of Doom was like my favorite because like Raiders was good. Temple kicked it up a notch with the action.
Well, because it felt a lot more adult and just graphic from like
it was the darker,
action.
grittier Indiana Jones. Dang it!
And then when I got to Last Crusade, it's a more mature.
It is.
Yeah, it kind of dials it back towards the Raiders.
And you get a lot more emotion out of it because you get the
father son.
Yeah, father son dynamic and everything. Where this is just.
It is just what
action.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, and then as I got older, though, again in my adult life and like teens and above, I've probably seen The Last Crusade more in that era.
It feels like the most complete film.
Right.
I think.
It's a really good. We're gonna get to it eventually in this series, but it's such a good film.
So I will not ever deny that I love Temple of Doom in its own way, and it's. Looking at the timeline of my life, I don't know what I've seen more, it or Last Crusade. But I definitely know earlier in life, I was all about Temple of Doom. I loved Short Round. I loved all the action scenes.
Well, I definitely think that this film gets a little bit too much of a bad rap.
Yeah.
for what it is, because there are some great sequences in it.
I think the problem is, while there are some great sequences, it's surrounded by not just that it's not well put together, it's also surrounded by a lot of stuff that even the 80s audiences must have been like, boy, that doesn't sit great with me.
Yeah.
And now, 2023, it's like, ooh, this is tough to watch.
No, 100%, I recognize that.
Yeah, for 100%.
Yeah.
The other thing too is the score's great. I mean, John Williams' music that he did for this is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's John Williams.
He's
John
working hard.
Williams. Yeah.
He works hard for the money.
Well, and he added more like newer tracks and everything like that specifically for this film.
They didn't lean on the indie theme.
Yeah,
as
they didn't. They
much.
only used it like twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in Raiders, it's like every other scene.
They knew they had a good thing, man. They just used
He
it.
picks up
Yeah.
that hat, da 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 da. He goes to the bathroom, da 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 da. You're like, all right, we got it.
So obviously, Ryan over here watched this a million times. So would you recommend? Would you rewatch?
I mean, I'll rewatch it. Mostly just because I want to watch the opening and the ending.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
you kind of avoid the middle.
Yeah, like the middle, I'll check my phone or
except for the
do
part where
something
he
else.
rips the guy's heart out. That's
I don't know.
when I was a kid. So I got in trouble in kindergarten.
Again,
Golly,
right? This is why it was so
Yeah.
cool. Because as kids, it was like this forbidden thing, but it was PG, so you could get away with watching it.
Kindergarten, I got in trouble. I got this friend of mine. I took a bunch of red Play-Doh and made a heart, or kind of like a big wad of Play-Doh, and I put it under his like dress shirt or whatever, and I started screaming, "Kali Ma, Kali Ma," and I pulled it out, and he acted like he was dead, and the teacher's like, "Name on the board," and I'm like, "Come on, man,
Cinema classic.
haven't you seen Temple of Doom?"
Would you rewatch this, Steven?
I mean, I have, and I'm sure I will at some point again. It's really ultimately just for the beginning and the end. There's so much in the middle that I just don't. I could do with that.
I do really like the relationship and the dynamic between Indy and Short Round, though.
That's good.
it's great. Yeah.
I think that's great. I think really it's the biggest asterisk I'd put on, rewatching is the cultural insensitivity of like, if you're watching this now for the first time, buckle up, buckaroo, because it's going to get pretty wild.
Watching it with my wife.
It is bathed in white savior story.
It's bathed in a lot of things. Watching it with my wife, I was sitting there going, boy, I don't know if I remember all this.
Yeah.
Where are we going with, oh, no, don't go there, don't go there, don't go there.
Don't do it, don't do it. Yeah, it's a wild, wild film.
If you like what you've heard so far and want to check out prequels to this episode, you can find all our content on spoilersintendedpodcast.com.
So is every episode that's come before this a prequel to this episode?
Yeah,
I guess it is.
It came
Quite
before
technically,
it.
yes.
It came before
Wow,
it.
I've never thought.
You never thought about that, huh?
Podcasts. Like that. So next week's episode's a sequel to this episode.
Yes,
Sure
but,
is. It comes
but
after
then
it, doesn't it?
it's a prequel for the following episode.
Oh my gosh.
That's going to blow your mind with this kind of stuff. Also, speaking of things that'll blow your mind, on that website, we've got links to our Discord, our socials, and our Patreon.
Yep.
It's such a terrible segue, but we're going to have to take it anyways.
Pick up the baton and run with it, Andrew.
Run with it. Come on now.
Yeah, so on our Discord, we have a whole plethora of channels, spoiler hubs. If you want to, you're watching newer episodes of TV shows that are coming out that you want to discuss, we'll do that.
Yep.
We also have fun channels like, hobbies, what we're listening to, what games we're playing. We love to talk. So come and join us.
Also, check us out on social media. We have a Facebook and an Instagram.
A whole two whopping social
medias. And we post a lot of stuff on there, but for sure every week we post like where you can watch what we're going to be reviewing the next week so that you can watch along with us and enjoy it and be caught up so that when the episode drops, you can enjoy it too.
Alrighty, everyone. We are back from that short little ad snippet, if you will.
We advertise ourselves.
We advertise ourselves.
Yes.
We sponsor ourselves. So right now, we're going to enforce with the force of Kalima, spoiler wall coming in at you hot. If somehow you haven't seen Temple of Doom and you don't want to be spoiled, this is your ticket to punch out.
Yes.
And come back a little later after you've seen it and you went, wow, that was really culturally insensitive. Come on back and find out what else we have to say.
Let's hear what these guys think about it. We're going to rip the heart out of the spoilers and
Kalima.
dip them in
lava.
Yeah.
All right, so first off, before we get into a whole bunch of spectacle, I'm going to hit you all with some trivia, and I got some wild stuff.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, this is already a crazy film.
So So we're gonna kick this off with the bug chamber sequence.
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't like that.
Okay, I watched this, and again, my wife and I agreed. She didn't agree to live bugs, right? Like they just put like rubber things on it, right? Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no! She was covered with over 2,000 insects in this sequence. She said she took sedatives prior to the scene to get over her fear, and claimed they definitely worked.
I took more Quaaludes than normal before this scene.
I mean, I would imagine I'm not really scared of bugs. I couldn't do that.
It's bugs in that number is what would be, and whatever. I'm not really like you. I'm not scared of bugs. I don't like spiders.
I'm not scared of bugs.
Well, I don't like whatever, but like millions of them crawling all around you and up and on the legs and your head at the same time. That would be like, okay, deuces. I'm out.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna absolutely butcher this name. I'm just gonna go ahead and preface that. Dr. Nanayakara.
Okay.
So this is the Indian village shaman.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Crazy dark brown hair.
White hair. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Did not speak English.
Oh.
He delivered all his lines phonetically by mimicking Steven Spielberg, who is prompting him off camera.
Oh wow.
He did really good for that
So,
being the case.
In
Yeah.
any moment where he has a pause in his dialogue, it's not for dramatic effect. It's because he's waiting for Spielberg to give him his line.
Oh, that's incredible.
Right? I saw that. I was like, that's crazy.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Like the 80s were wild.
Wow.
So
That's actually really, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this film is banned in India and never shown,
Not surprising.
Not at all. Never shown on TV channels there. So they were actually unable to get permission to film in India. The Indian government wanted a copy of the script. And of all the things that they picked out, they demanded that the word Maharaja be removed.
Okay.
And that was apparently the sticking point.
What?
That's the note
That
they
was,
came away with?
apparently that was the thing they came away with. And then they were like, well, we don't think the content reflects your culture. It's like, yeah, no kidding. I bet.
Yeah.
But Maharaja is what you, not the everything else.
That's
Yeah.
That's the
That's
top
the
of the
breaking
list.
point. Yeah. Kate Capshaw screams a total of 71 times in this film.
There's
That
a
feels
lot
low.
of screams.
That feels real low.
Oh, we have, on one side we have low and the other side high.
I mean, it's a lot. That's a lot of screaming.
That is, but I completely believe that number.
Final piece of trivia for this block right here.
Okay.
I got a few others to spread around the rest of the episode. This is bonkers. Y'all ready for this?
Yeah.
So when they filmed the whipping scene,
Okay.
crew played a practical joke on Harrison Ford.
Oh no.
They had Barbara Streisand show up, dressed in leather outfit as a dominatrix. She proceeded to be the one who whips him, accusing him of making bad movies
What?
and making too much money.
What?
What a pull.
All right, no, hold on. This is still. If you want to know what these sets were like, this is wild. Carrie Fisher is also there, and she threw herself in front of Ford to protect him. And this prompted Irvin Kershner, who's the Empire Strikes Back director, who was
Okay.
also just on set, chided Spielberg, saying, "Is this how you run your movies?" All right, y'all ready for this? This entire sequence was filmed. You can find it on YouTube.
Oh no.
It's out there.
What?
Right? I
What?
ran across this and it was like, no, this isn't real. And then it said like, this entire sequence is filmed. Okay, YouTube. Oh, it's there. Oh
Ooh,
no,
man.
I don't.
Wow. And so when Steven Spielberg calls Barbara Streisand on the phone, how does this go down?
Apparently, she's just like, I've got the outfit in the closet. I'll be there in 10.
Yeah. Also, can you stop by Carrie Fisher's house and Irvin Kershner's house on the way over?
So now,
why are they there?
At some point in this timeline, Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher were involved,
Yes.
right? Like they dated or whatever. Like her-
Well, if you read her book or listen to her book, whichever one,
Yeah.
Their dalliance was during A New Hope,
okay.
and partially into Empire Strikes Back, if I remember correctly. It's been a couple years since I've read it, but I don't believe this was when this was happening.
See, I don't
Because
know that
Jedi was
it's-
what, 81?
No,
83?
83.
This is 84?
Yes.
Okay, so this is just 1 year
So
afterwards,
this,
I guess.
this isn't too far away from their time.
I mean, but it's Spielberg and George Lucas. They all kind of go hand in hand. They could just be, hey, we're filming today. Come and hang out.
Yeah,
I'm in town.
They're all
guess
just
they're
hanging
all
out.
the-
Like
yeah.
Carrie's like, I don't have anything else to do today. I'm gonna go make fun of Harrison.
I guess
I don't know.
That scene specifically was obviously shot on a lot somewhere in
Yeah.
Los Angeles. So I guess maybe they were shooting something else over whatever.
Just wandered over on smoke.
This is how you run your sets.
That's just crazy, right? All right, so enough trivia. I've got some other stuff to kind of toss around here, but let's get into spectacle.
Sure.
Who wants to take it?
I'll go. So I love the opening action set piece of in the Chinese club, which is really, really fun. I love the comedy that they spread out throughout that scene of Willie and Indy trying to get the two different, get the diamond and get the antidote.
That's a really good setup for ridiculous scenes.
Oh, it really is.
And that's kind of a classic play. Like I feel like there are a lot of movies from the 80s and 90s that have that style of sequence in it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if this is where it came from.
Yeah.
Or if it's like one of the first ones that did it.
I feel like when you see it, most times there's one thing that everybody's out, and this one is there's two things, and they keep finding the thing that the other one wants. And they're like, what is this trash? And getting rid of it. That's the dynamic I like about this.
I think my favorite part of that scene is when all the ice knocks over and Willie goes, "Oh, nuts!"
Yes. Got to keep it PG.
But actually, never mind. I'll get to that in score. But then my second favorite part of the whole film is during the bridge scene at the end, and Indy is running across, and then he stops in the middle of the bridge. And that
cool
shot with like him in basically left-hand side of the screen, and then you can still see the rest of the bridge going up with the people coming behind him. Oh man,
I feel like that
phenomenal.
Shot is used as like the thumbnail for this movie
Temple of Doom.
on a lot of stuff because it's just like him holding up the
sword.
It's just phenomenal.
So I'm going to interrupt you right there with some bridge facts.
Yeah, bridge facts.
Bridge facts.
So that scene, that whole sequence of the bridge is filmed on 3 different continents.
Okay, well, that makes sense financially.
So, yeah, right? Perfect sense. So the bridge itself and that gorge part was filmed in Sri Lanka.
Gorgeous gorge.
Gorgeous gorge was filmed in Sri Lanka, and they actually had further up that river, a dam was being built by British engineers, and the production just talked them into building that bridge for them.
British engineers notoriously just easy to be talked into.
Apparently, yeah. Spielberg showed up. Was like, "Yo, you want to make me a bridge?" And they're like, "Yeah, we do."
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's like they're like an engineer's dream to be like, "Hey, do you want to build this like ancient kind of like rope bridge? Let's go."
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I only do modern structures. Get out of here, Kevin.
So those sequences were filmed in Sri Lanka. Then when the bridge is hanging down the cliff face, that's on a studio in London.
Okay.
Apparently, not Los Angeles. And then our crocodiles are actually alligators filmed in Florida.
Yep.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like it's so funny too because like they're in India and then. Sri Lanka for filming, but technically it's supposed to be in India. So it should be crocodiles. Right. And then, like, if you're at all familiar with crocodiles and alligators, you're like, that's just an alligator.
Yeah,
that's a big old Florida alligator right now.
Seeing that sequence now as an adult, I'm just like, wow, those are just blatantly alligators. Okay. But yeah, I mean, those are like the big set pieces, right?
Yeah.
The mine cart, all those are the things that really like
stick out.
Those are things I remember. So the mine cart sequence was actually done on a studio set, and it's just a loop.
Is it?
They built a loop. So whenever they went through the same places, they would just change the lighting.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
They were just running those carts in circles.
Oh, that's cool.
But that was fun.
Got save on budget somewhere.
Yeah. What about you guys? Spectacle.
So I really like the spectacle, especially like the opening scene, like you're saying, that whole action scene. I like any time Short Round comes to save the day.
Oh yeah, I'm in.
The way they set it up, the way they shoot it, the way the music hits, like just the synergy of the movie. Anytime he comes in to save Indy, it's like yes.
Well, I love whenever he's beating up the kid at the end, and they're just like both hitting at the same time.
That shot where it's Short Round in the background beating this kid up, and Indiana Jones beating up that big dude with the beard is like. That's great because it's like
they're like punching in time with each other.
Yeah,
it's great.
Now think if you just reversed who was hitting who and how horrible that's There's Force beating the crap out of some kid.
I really do think that like the back third or whatever, as soon as things start to pop off in the back,
once
tail of the
Indy
movie,
gets burned from Short Round,
Yeah.
it like it's like out of the frying pan into the fryer, out of the frying pan, and it's like things just escalate, and that's Spielberg at his best, doing like, you know, a lot of
madcap action.
Yeah, madcap action, but everything's framed really well. You always know where the sense of direction is going, the way the shots are cut together, and how they're like paced and stuff. Everything like flows. It's not really herky jerky. There's definitely like a couple, you know, special effects here and there that don't age great.
I mean,
you know.
that's fine,
Yeah,
but
it is what it is.
Yeah, for 84, it's fine.
Yeah, the only thing that like, and it's weird because in my mind I can't parse why it's different to me, but like when, for example, they leap out of an airplane in an inflatable raft and then float down and then ride, you know, down that is a very fun scene, and it is objectively the most unrealistic and like, you know, realism breaking scene.
That was the
ever.
original survive a nuke in a fridge moment.
It was.
Before that moment happened.
Then when that moment happens in Crystal's Skull, like the nuke in the fridge, there's several moments in Crystal's Skull.
Yeah.
That I just and I'm like, how do I like this? But this one I don't, and I don't know if it's
Well, I think because it's one of those things where, like, you know that if you're near a nuclear explosion, you will die.
guess, yeah.
There's nothing you can do. Where, like,
It's
at least
just
with
too
the
far.
raft, there is, like, just a hint of a possibility that you could possibly survive.
right. Yeah. Okay. I really feel like if they'd hopped out of that plane at a much lower altitude, it'd be way more believable. Like if they're like 30 foot, like they almost wrecked the plane and they pop out. Instead, they're like, we're going to fall.
Well, I mean,
like hundreds of feet.
They probably fall for about 150 feet.
Oh, okay. Did you get your little tape measure out? And
I mean,
measure the
it's really
screen?
actually not that far.
I mean, the plane only flies so high. Those are big mountains.
The zoom that the telephoto that they're shooting that drop from is really far in.
It was still like 12 seconds in the air, just like falling and falling and falling and falling. And I'm like, they're dead. They're hamburger meat, even on a slope of snow. Anyways, back to spectacle. Yes, there are some scenes like that are definitely like to the edge of like breaking reality.
Course, yeah.
But like, I don't know, like they do it with such reckless abandon and fun that like it's just great.
You almost just accept it.
Yeah, I feel like there was more like creative cinematography in Raiders, like shots, with the exception of like the bridge scene.
Yeah.
But like, you know, there's so many shots in Raiders that was like, ooh, that's like the silhouette shot, you know, where they're digging for the temple.
Well,
and like,
you still get that though.
You do.
You get that whenever after he gets burned and they grab the stones and then they're gonna go free the kids, and you get the backlight of him walking
You get
into
that.
the
that's
thing.
a good shot.
Oh, it's a great shot.
I like that one, and I like the like just the design of that layer with like the Kali Ma statue and the way the hands have the chains coming out of them, and the 3 stones go in the skull, and they're digging for 2 more.
Well, I love how the 3 stones go in the skull. It's like, well, there's 3 places. Well, we're digging for 2 more. Like, do you have places for those?
You got the teeth. It's $2 teeth.
Just these 3? But yeah, I honestly like the set designs, right?
Yeah.
They went nuts
for
on
like
the
30
sets-
million
on the set designs, right?
Really good.
Because that whole all the interior of the palace they built on they either built or they used pieces from old sets on a soundstage.
Yeah.
Because again, India was like, get out, you're not filming anywhere here. You know, the temple they built, the mine sequences,
booby traps,
the mine cart sequences,
is great.
like the bridge, like they did so much. All the club at the start.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if y'all know this or not, but the club is called Club Obi-Wan.
Oh, really?
I saw that. Yeah.
There are a ton of
little
Star Wars
Easter eggs.
references dropped in.
That's not surprising.
Like when the door opens for the lava pit, it's the sound of Vader's.
Oh, yeah,
lightsaber.
I know
But
that,
one's
yeah.
obvious, but like, yeah.
It is weird though at that very front when it's like it's this dance routine. You're like, okay, and then they go inside the mouth of the skull, and then we're like in a whole
In a
whole new
rocket.
room.
in a pocket
Yeah.
dimension within inside this thing. And then, like there's all this.
But like people can still see it somehow. I don't know.
Right, yeah. And then it comes back out, and you're like, okay, what are we doing? I think Spielberg's just like, this is my dance routine.
Honestly, I love that song.
Oh, it's good. It's just like it's reality breaking of like, what's happening? Are they still seeing this at the dinner table?
It's just a fever dream.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
All right. Performance?
Yeah.
Let's go to performance.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little performance. So who wants to take this first?
Not me.
I'll go first.
Go for it.
I think really like Indiana Jones is. I don't want to say not as good.
How do I say he's a terrible actor?
No, yeah, I'm trying to think of how to like I feel like the trajectory of Harrison Ford's portrayal of Indiana Jones in the first 3 movies, like just speaking about the ones that came out, in the 80s that were kind of close together, right? Raiders is very good, but it feels like the proto, we're trying to figure out this character. Yeah. This one feels like they went a little too far afield with Indy's character and Harrison's performance a little bit every now and then. And then it feels like in
Crusade, you get a little bit more of a nuance.
They just nail it.
They kind of got it. Yeah. So this one,
third time's the charm.
There's moments where Harrison Ford has wild swings of would Indiana Jones do this?
There are a couple weird bits in there.
Yeah. But him when he's acting evil, it's almost cheesy because he's got this
so
weird
over the
grin
top
on his face. But then the emotional moments between him and Short Round, who Short Round I think steals the show of this thing. When he's like, "I love you, Indy," I always cry. Oh. I'm always like, "Oh, he does love him,"
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of other side characters, the guy who's the number 2 of the palace. I can't think of his
he's just the vizier.
He played Dalsim in the Street Fighter movie for all the Street Fighter movie fans.
Oh man, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Holy cow.
That's the only 2 things I've ever seen him in. But anyways, he did pretty good for that character. You know what I mean? For that type of I'm being cagey about what I'm telling you. There's nothing to see here. We don't have a weird cult in our basement. You have a cult in your basement,
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then Kate Capshaw, I've never seen her really. The only thing I've ever seen her in other than this is Black Rain with Michael Douglas, and I don't remember her from that very much.
She wasn't in a whole lot.
She was in a few things, but nothing I've seen really. So I can't compare her body of work to be this is just how she is. But I think her character specifically and her portrayal, just the screaming is a bit much. She's just kind of grating.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do y'all think?
I actually really liked Amrish Puri. He's the one that played Mola Ram. He
did really good.
Yeah, he did great.
Yeah.
He plays such a just crazy cultist leader, especially at the end whenever they're going up and down on the broken down bridge.
So he shaved his head for this role, and that flipped a switch, and he went on to be a pretty prolific Indian actor as a villain.
Oh, cool!
Up to that point, he was kind of just he's just another actor, and it was this role flipped a switch where he's like, man, I can really do villains. This is fun.
That's Well, and sometimes that's just how it works. Is you're like, ooh, I kind of liked that. That was pretty good. And
he did a good job with it, right?
Yeah. I always get a laugh at the Dan Aykroyd cameo.
Yeah, it's
just the random.
It's just so random. It's just
I was like, is that Dan Aykroyd?
And I'm out of the movie. And
you're and he's done.
Nice, easy, cash that check.
Yeah, but I don't think a lot of people don't like Willie Scott. That's fine. I think Kate Capshaw actually did a good job at portraying that kind of.
Kate Capshaw doesn't like Willie Scott.
Yeah, I think she did a good job at portraying just this annoying, clearly non-cultured kind of.
So self-serving to almost a comedic degree.
Because you know that she's just going to not care about anyone else's plight except for hers.
Yeah,
and she sells it well. I don't think it's a good role.
So the scenes when they're trying to figure out who's going to come to whose bedroom.
Yeah, that's fun.
I don't like that as a plot point necessarily. We'll get into that when we get to plot. But the performances from both of them was actually pretty good.
Fun.
That was when we talked about, maybe the chemistry wasn't there. I feel like that scene says, "Hey, chemistry was here."
That's the closest we got.
They had
to
a
it,
good feel for how to act with each other.
So this isn't necessarily for Kate, but for really Indiana and Short Round. But the scene around in the camp whenever Willie is basically running around and finding every creature imaginable.
That is a pretty good scene.
I love that scene because one, it's just hilarious because her screams punctuate just every little bit while him and Short Round are having this go
They're
at
just
poker.
So focused and they don't even care about her. That was really good scene.
I got a really solid laugh out about watching it this time around. It's always pretty fun, but
yeah. So I will say, if nothing else, for how much she may have hated this role or not, it introduced her to Steven Spielberg, who she went on to marry.
Oh, Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know
wasn't
that.
sure if y'all knew that or not.
How long,
I had
were
no
they still
idea.
married, or was that
They're
just
still
like,
married. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They got
Holy
married.
smokes.
They apparently got married in 1991 or 1990.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, so this was their kind of introduction, and there was something in the trivia I saw where it was they had a scene written for her, and she was just like it was like something like snakes or she's like I'm not doing that, and so they wrote it out, and Spielberg has been quoted as saying, yeah, I'm pretty sure me agreeing to remove the scene is the only reason she talked to me, so that's probably saved my marriage.
I just like the idea of he's sitting in the director's chair, she comes screeching by in some scene, and he's like, my heart.
Be still.
So we've already mentioned Short Round, Ke Huy Quan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think kills it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
Everything I've seen him in, which is
Three films.
things,
Yeah.
he's killed it.
3 films.
But I got some fun facts about him. So this is my moment for it.
Yeah.
So he did not audition for the role.
Really?
His brother was at the audition for the role.
Uh-huh.
And he was there with his brother as moral support. But apparently during the audition, he was telling his brother what to do the whole time. And the casting director saw that and was like, yeah, that kid's okay, but get this kid over here.
Yeah.
So he'd never done anything before. Like he wasn't like here to be like, I want to be an actor. But in reference to kind of the chemistry between
But his brother was so mad about
oh, he's so pissed. Or like the mom, like, I thought I was going to have him be the star. Your older brother deserved it. But in reference to like kind of the chemistry between him and Harrison Ford, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one, that card scene was completely improvised between the two of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was
Really?
just, they had so much faith in him as an actor
Oh, that's so
that
cool.
they were just like, get out there and
You're
do
telling
something.
me as a kid he did that scene improv?
Right? But like seeing him in Everything Everywhere, where I
Yeah.
was just like, man, like as far as I know, this dude hasn't done anything in like 40 years, and he's just blowing me away. Like
He
it makes
actually has
so
a
much
lot of credits.
sense.
Yeah.
Well, he does, but just not
Yeah.
in American film.
That stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
But like he's just blowing me away, and it makes sense because it's just like, holy cow, he can act.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's actually great because that's one of the standout scenes for like non-action scenes in the film.
Well,
Also,
100%.
It helps too that Willie's in the background, stepping on a snake, tripping over a snail, screeching about the monkey, everything else. But yeah,
I love the face of that monkey whenever she finds like, whoa.
But also apparently while they were in Sri Lanka filming, again, kind of the relationship between them. Harrison Ford taught him how to swim.
Oh yeah, I do know that one.
They were
Yeah.
at the hotel, and he was just like, "Do you know how to swim?" And he's like, "No," because he's not that old at this
Yeah.
point. He's like,
Yeah.
no, so he taught him how to swim. So I thought that was really cool, just because we're talking about maybe the chemistry was or wasn't there for Ford and Capshaw, but it was definitely,
definitely
there
there.
for
Yeah.
Ford and Ke Huy.
Yeah.
Which again, really cool. You took my bit about Molaram.
Yeah.
Because
He's great.
He's such a great villain.
Yeah.
And he doesn't show up for like an hour and a half into the film, like an hour 15.
Somewhere
way
around
deep
there.
into the film.
Yeah,
feel
I do like his little like trap door that he has, and he's just like he's just staring at it, and he's like,
She's it. And he has a dummy clearly rolls under the You're like, who designed this? So you're going to lay right in front. Now you got to lay straight. If you don't, like if your legs get caught in
cut
here,
you
You're
off.
done.
Yeah, you're done.
it's a very specific escape route.
All right, so let's talk about the score.
sure, John Williams.
It's John Williams. Yeah, like I don't. There's one bit that you and I, because you were finishing the film when I came over, that you and I both commented on. And that's all I got on the score.
The
What was the comment? Don't leave us in the dark.
well, I mean, really,
I'm trying to see if you would get it or if I'd just take it for free.
No, take it for
Take
free.
it for free.
Yeah.
So they do the late in the film, before the bridge scene, they do the confrontation of him with the two swordsmen.
Yeah.
And he reaches for his gun.
Yeah.
And the music fades into music from the basket sequence of
Yeah.
Raiders.
Yeah.
And then his hand goes to the holster and the gun's not there. And it just kind of fades back out.
Yeah.
Because it's that perfect callback of like, oh yeah, you remember this sequence? You love this sequence. You don't get this sequence.
Yeah.
well, because as an Indiana Jones fan, you've already clearly seen Raiders of the Lost Ark. So you're watching this, and you know that the second that
is
they
his
walk up
solution.
and flourish, like, oh, I know where this is going,
Yeah.
and you subvert it. I mean, like that's it. It makes for a good film because then
Good comedy.
you get to have him. One, you get a little bit of a laugh out of it because you get to see his reaction, but then now he's got to fight two guys with swords, which
Right.
are clearly fake.
There's a lot of rubber
Super
swords
fake
in this
swords.
movie that go like, yeah. They're great.
But yeah, I mean, John Williams' soundtrack is phenomenal. This is actually one of my favorite Indiana Jones tracks, I think, is like just like the main Temple of Doom kind of like theme that happens towards the end of the film. I mean, it's John Williams.
It's John Williams. It's really good. I will say there's definitely a few of the tracks, because I listened to just the soundtrack by itself later, just to kind of like, familiarize myself again with it, that are, I guess, not that they're not memorable, but they're definitely like, this track works with the visuals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And without it, it's okay. There's a lot of tracks on there that are good, but there's definitely a couple, I think, compared to like Raiders, that to me aren't as like solid.
Yeah, I mean, I always just go back to the da 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 da, and it's da 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 da, and then you get like that big hit. Oh man, it feels it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's still John Williams.
It's John. It's hard to like. Yeah. I'm reaching for complaints.
Like, what's my complaint? Well, I don't. It's not my most played soundtrack.
Yeah, it's not my favorite.
It's like
John Williams.
my third most played soundtrack.
Right. Plot.
Let's talk.
Plot.
Plot.
No.
Everybody.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that could be.
Put it on the soundboard. So this plot is
Wild.
woof.
It's pretty bad.
It's very much like
Mostly just because it is just the white savior trope just in film.
even beyond that, because like, okay, I get it. Hollywood in the 80s, obviously they're going to do some white savior stuff.
Yeah.
In the storytelling, whatever. It sucks, but hey, it's the 80s. It's like in Raiders, it feels like there is a purpose and a cause from the get of like, I need to get the Ark of the Covenant. This is what we're doing. There's like a pretty.
He's like given the task because he's known by like the CIA or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Or whatever they're called at that point. And then he's gonna do the task, and in the process of the task, he encounters the guy who was the jerk from the beginning of the movie. He always ones ups him. It's like, man, I feel how this connects.
There's
I jump out of a plane in a life raft. I slide down a mountain into a river. The river takes me down, and some weird-haired shaman dude is just like, "You're going to help me."
And then I decide to, and then we go somewhere, and then it's like I guess it feels more like things are just happening, and we're kind of along for the ride.
There's actual agency.
Well, and the other thing is too is his motivations are so sleazy.
Yeah.
With it, because he's just like, oh, they could be like the lost chakra stones, and that's fortune and glory.
Yeah.
Like, not like I need to save these people.
Well,
it's just like
I read it upon this viewing as more of that's his excuse to Willie to be like, let's go, and more of a he wants to help these people.
Well, and it also
but
works
I could just
for
be
short
really
round too,
reading into it.
Short round gets in with the fortune and glory.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could look at it that way of him, just trying to basically obfuscate the fact that he just wants to help these people.
Yeah.
Because clearly he does respect like their way of life and that kind of thing, and he has an understanding of how it like what it means to them and those kind of things. And whenever the shaman is explaining to him, it's like, and then he pauses and like, they took the children, like that kind of hits with him because, he definitely has Short Round as his surrogate kid at this point, so I could definitely see that.
Yeah. But plot wise, it feels more like a theme park ride than a movie that has
especially with the mine carts. It felt like they're designed to be a theme park ride.
But I mean more just like we're just being drug along in like action after action in the middle part. But the to compare it again to Raiders is like you have the bad guy that shows up early, in the middle, and the end.
And the bad guy is working towards a goal,
right?
And we're working against it. Here, the bad guy doesn't appear, again, for like an hour 15 of the movie.
Yeah, it's like the back third of the movie is when you finally meet the real bad guy.
Yeah.
And then you kind of understand what's happening and what they're doing. So,
but yeah, the turn is just a little bit too late in the film, I think, for you to have an investment in the story.
Right.
Because like you try and have investment obviously with the characters and like their plights, but not really like with the overarching story of stuff beyond just like, because up until the point where he tries to steal the stones, you don't know that the kids have actually been like taken for the most part. I mean, like you have the hint of like the kid coming back and like, kind of spurring everything. But beyond that, like there's no hard evidence that like all the kids were actually like kidnapped.
Yeah.
Right.
So I got a question for y'all, and I don't know, maybe I just missed this.
Yeah.
But what is Willie's reasoning for once they're out of the club, getting on the plane with Indy?
There is no reasoning.
Thank you. Okay, good. I'm glad I didn't miss something. Because at first I was kind of like doing this motion where I was like, so is this like a double cross where he like has her in place to like be around this guy because he's like, working a job for him? No, I don't think that's what this is. I think she just got on the plane because she did.
I always thought it was because the mob boss or
they were in
whatever.
pursuit, but
No, he basically said, keep her. She's worthless to me. Like,
yeah, I'll just get another one.
Like, I think so.
Sure, but
from
then-
her
but
perspective, it's
also,
like
like-
they've been shooting at her, trying to kill her. I don't think she feels safe going back with him.
I mean, that's fair.
But there's no reason for her to go back with him. I mean, Indy was like, stabbing her with a fork or whatever. Like, It's not like this guy's giving her any indication it's going to be better. It's just something about that was
He's
just,
attractive.
I mean, okay, sure, yes.
He's a dreamboat.
I mean, like, clearly she was attracted initially to him.
Look,
She's like,
Ryan,
oh, you should introduce
if
me.
80s Harrison Ford pulled a fork on you and said, "Get in my plane," you'd be like, "Yes, sir."
I'd be like, stick me, daddy. Come on. That stubble, he looks so good with that stubble. I wish I looked like that with stubble. I got too much gray hair in my stubble. I look like a homeless person.
I really do like the punctuation of just that scene whenever he's getting on the plane and he's like, next time, Lao Shay, and then he closes.
Shuts the door. That name's right there.
Like, but again, going back to Raiders, right? Our early introduced problem.
Yeah.
Oh, once again, Dr. Jones, anything you can find, I can take.
Yeah.
Right? Well, like, it feels like, okay, Lao Shay is that person. Nope, never going to see him again. Never going to be a factor. Just doesn't exist.
That's kind of like what I mean with like the connection.
It's just
no-
kind of like scene, action, action, action.
Well, there's no Marcus. There's no what's his name?
Marcus.
The guy in,
John Rhys Davies.
John Rhys Davies.
That's
Character
Sala.
name.
Asala.
Yeah, Asala. There's no that character really that's like kind of along with you in multiple parts to kind of keep the story flowing.
Well, and you also don't get. I mean, you have a bit with Short Round where, like, obviously they've been together for some period of time, but you don't have like a Marion where it's like we're revisiting, 10 years of history.
Yeah, it's all new characters that unfortunately just don't reoccur because, like, I always want, like, after Temple of Doom, I was like, oh man, I wonder when Short Round's going to be, coming in Crusade or whatever, and it just never happens.
Doesn't happen, which is again because it's a prequel to Raiders. Then it's like, what happened in like a year and a half?
Yeah,
to Short Round.
This might be getting
just went
ahead
a
of
separate
things.
way. Yeah.
Do y'all think Short Round will make an appearance in Indy 5? As an adult.
Ooh. No, it can't. Well,
Oh, well, I don't know. That's untrue.
I don't know. I don't think it can.
Why not?
Because I'm pretty sure this still happens. Like Indy 5 still happens in pretty early
50s or 60s.
Yeah, like 50s
No,
or
and
60s.
the whole movie's not a flashback. There's a lot of old Harrison Ford in there.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm
I
telling
mean,
you.
I wouldn't hate it just because I,
I
want to
might
see
jump
more.
up and down.
Yeah,
in the theater if it happened.
I want Ke Huy Quan to get more work.
Yeah, I want to
Get paid, man.
I want to get one, get paid, and two, get more recognition because the guy's phenomenal.
Yeah, he really is.
It really is
haven't-
fantastic.
If you haven't seen Everything Ever All at Once, one, check out our episode on it because it was a lot of fun, and two, find a way to watch it. Go get the DVD. I don't know where it streams. I think it's
The
like
DVD.
Blu-ray. Screw you. I think it's like Paramount Plus or something like that. But it's phenomenal. He does an incredible job opposite Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
So if he
Great
shows
film.
up as Short Round in the fifth one, I wouldn't be mad at it.
oh no, I won't be
all I'm
mad.
saying.
Like that's the kind of thing where I'm just like nostalgia me, daddy. Like just give it to me. I'll take it.
Okay, so I feel that we're moving into
Entertainment,
at this point. What are your most entertaining bits? I've already technically said mine. Rope bridge.
Rope
Definitely
bridge.
my favorite.
The
Yeah.
rope bridge sequence is so good.
Playing the cards while she's screaming at the animals
Yeah.
is up there. I think the mine cart is pretty high up there for me.
I think if this film had been more well received back then, we would have gotten like a Disney World ride of the actual Indiana Jones minecart.
Totally built to be like that.
Cannot believe we didn't. I guess, MGM still had the rights back then.
Yeah, well, it would be Universal.
It would be Universal. But either way, like, as a child, my understanding of how minecarts worked and the physics involved came from this movie.
Yeah, or Donkey Kong Country.
Well, later, I was like, oh, I know this. I've seen Temple of Doom.
I've done this before.
Got the bananas exploded out of the barrel. Yes. So those two for me, like the finding the animals is like the comedy scene that really sticks out for me, and then the mine carts is my my action scene that's like it's a lot of fun. It's choreographed.
It's always fun.
It's just, and I don't remember up until that point having seen anything like it in an action movie.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything before that. Like,
Not
I mean,
really.
Not
to that level.
scale,
I always feel the heat in my foot after he presses on the brake.
Oh man, my whole leg hurts.
What about you, Steven?
So honestly, I think my favorite bit is when Indy and Short Round go into like the secret passage behind or under the palace. And, and he's like, "Stop walking, standing against the wall." And then Short Round still triggers the next trap, and then they have to bring Willie in to try and save them. And it's that clip where Indy puts his face in the hole. He's like, "We are going to die." Sad face. Like that whole sequence is just because you got the comedy of her like freaking out about the bugs and like having to reach in the hole and
and then she's like, "There are 2 dead people out here. There are going to be 2 dead people in here."
Yeah, like it's such a good sequence, honestly.
Their comedy in this film was really good. It's
pretty good.
Like, it's got good snappy bits, and you get a lot of really fun, snarky comments from Harrison Ford.
Yeah, there's a lot of good one-liners. I think so. Looking at some of what Spielberg and Lucas have said about this production, they were both kind of in a dark place.
Yeah.
So Spielberg had apparently just broken up with his girlfriend. Lucas was going through a divorce, and they both wanted to do something that was not as fun.
Yeah.
And then they started doing it, and Lucas was apparently all in on this, and Spielberg was like, "Whoa, hold on, we need to have some fun with this. Hold on, whoa, slow down."
I just pictured George Lucas with a divorce lawyer. I think what she should do is let me have both of the cars, and I don't understand why. That was my bad George Lucas impression.
That was a pretty bad George Lucas impression. But ultimately, I think the biggest problem with this film is just the cultural issues. Again, back in the 80s, people were almost certainly just like, "Whoa," and
I don't know that they were.
I mean, there was definitely
was a little bit, not as much as it should have been.
India looked at the script and said, "Get out of my country."
Yeah, no,
well,
for sure.
That's the thing, though. It's so easy to get behind beating up Nazis.
Oh, right.
Because they are the bad guys.
It's easy. Yeah, there's no
you want to stereotype them with the
yeah,
it's totally fine. Go knock yourself out.
Yeah,
and then a villain.
Then you can
not prepared for that sound, Steve.
but then it feels much more, I'll say, mean-spirited whenever you do it to just a culture.
It does.
Well, it's not like the villagers. It's not like the villagers did anything wrong or they're bad people.
Yeah,
and just the whole representation as a whole is just not great. And the palace sequence, the dinner sequence is just terrible.
Well, also it feels like they could have just picked a culture that doesn't exist and had a fictional group of people. Instead, they were specifically India.
So they dropped that whole banquet sequence on us, right? So I was going to throw this at y'all. So originally, the whole reason that sequence happens is to have something happening while they do all the exposition on the thuggy cult.
Yeah.
And originally they were going to do a tiger hunt as the background of the exposition. And Spielberg was basically just said, "I'm not staying in India at the time, Sri Lanka, long enough to film that. We're going to do something else." So they shot that all on a studio. Back home, and they wanted something over the top happening while this was going on.
Mm-hmm. So you can pepper in some comedy and stuff with Short Round and Willie.
But it comes off as just terrible because this is a Hindu Maharaja. These people are vegetarian. And they're just eel, snakes, monkey brains, eyeballs in a stew, or it's just what is going on right now?
Yeah, it's definitely I can very easily see a writer's room in the 80s coming to this conclusion.
They're just hitting a couple lines of coke and being "Oh, you know what? We just should do this. It'd be great."
No consideration at all, and just thinking and it'd be funny if this and again having there probably no Indian people in the room.
No, of course not.
There's no Indian people within the zip code, probably.
Right. So having that just complete unawareness, it's very easy for me to see how they got to this point of just and it'll be weird. And they got caught up more in how can we make it weird and not, wait, is it culturally insensitive for us to make it this weird? It becomes a abstract thing to them.
So moving away from the cultural insensitivity and kind of moving back to just entertainment stuff.
Yeah.
So I always get a laugh after Willie gets saved from the lava pit or whatever in the cage. and they share the warm embrace, and then she's like kind of like still recovering from this traumatic event, and then she slaps him, and the sound effects they use is like just a 2x4 breaking. And every time I just laugh so hard because I'm just like, wow, that is one heck of a slap.
I mean, honestly, it feels like they just kind of were like, hey, you got a sound effect? Put it in there. Because they're like the Millennium Falcon startup sound, Vader's lightsaber, just smack a wall with a 2x4,
I don't know if it holds the record for the Indiana Jones movies, but they may have used the Wilhelm scream.
At least 4 times.
I heard it at least 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's in there a lot.
So there is 2 times in the opening scenes. Yeah. And then 1 time in the mine cart chase, and then 1 time on the bridge for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
There might be 2.
Maybe 2 on the bridge.
It might be 2
Isn't
on the
there
bridge.
something with the lava where somebody gets thrown in? Or
There's
yes.
the 5th one.
There's a
The
5th one.
spear dude.
Yeah.
The spear dude
The
gets
spear
pushed
dude.
over the cliff. Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Hold on, quick.
Yeah.
If you're unfamiliar with what the Wilhelm scream is, you can literally find it in basically every single film that has action things.
Made in Hollywood.
Yeah, made in
basically.
Hollywood, essentially from like I don't even know what. I
feel like the Wilhelm scream was recorded in the 30s or 40s.
Yeah, and
it's been around forever.
But yeah, if you always can just pick it out, and
so
but they just use it a
distinctive.
lot in this film.
Yeah, it's like
Ryan's-
an iconic. I'm trying to
Ryan's digging for info on it.
pull it up here. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think it was like the 50s.
50s.
1951 is the first time the Wilhelm
It's been
scream
around
was used.
for forever.
And it's become now like it
It's
was
kind of its own meme.
It was a meme before memes were memes. This was like in the 80s. Spielberg and Lucas uses them all throughout Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then in the first in Raiders, there's like a few of them. And this one, I think there's 5. There may be more.
There may be more.
There are a lot. Like most films, it's kind of like, the single F-bomb for a PG-13 film. Like they use it sparingly. They put it in there once, and then they all kind of look at the screen and wink at you.
Yeah.
Here, they're just like, just push the button again.
Yeah. We need another scream. Just Wilhelm
Just
again.
Wilhelm it. Yeah. So before we let you go, we've got to get our shill in. Obligatory shill.
It has
Shill
to
on.
happen.
Get your shill on.
It's $1 a month to support us on Patreon. We have quite a number of patrons out there already helping out the show, keeping the lights on.
We do appreciate it.
Paying
Yes.
those hosting fees. We love you all so much. You could join their ranks. And Ryan, tell them what they get for $1 a month.
You're not going to believe this. You get access to not only all of the bonus episodes we've ever recorded for just $1 a month.
And that's guaranteed once a month.
And we add new bonus episodes every month, at least one, sometimes more,
Sometimes more, yeah.
sometimes just the one.
Don't get too excited.
Don't get too excited. We're not going to upload 30 or anything. Calm down.
Once a day.
But yeah, you get access to all that for just $1 a month on Patreon. So check us out, patreon.com/spoilersintendedpodcast for that. Also, if you're like $1, that's outrageous. I don't have that kind of case, show me.
We would greatly appreciate, you to share us on social media, share us to friends, cats, pets, whatever.
Yeah. Anything that has ears and can listen to the podcast and might share it with other people.
Yeah. But we would also love for you to review us on your podcast service of choice, iTunes, Spotify, whatever. It definitely helps us push it.
You can't leave reviews on Spotify.
You can't really leave
You just review Spotify as an app and put the review there.
Yes, that's the hack.
That's the
Review
campaign.
Spotify,
We
the
want to
app,
have
and
that
say,
happen.
Yeah.
You should listen to Spoilers Intended.
But it does push us up on the search results and everything. We would really appreciate it because we love doing this, and we love that you guys like to listen to us.
Well, that sounds like all the time we have for this episode. Until next time, I'm Steven,
I'm Andrew.
I'm Ryan.
and every spoiler was intended.